electronic services. They just want only the information. Therefore, these institutions have to jointly venture for good service. Therefore, what are the barriers inhibiting partnerships? First thing is that in history, these three different institutions for a long time have been professionally isolated from each other. They lacked communication and understanding with each other. The second, and probably the most critical one, is that the attitudes of the professionals of these institutions. The professionals think that their respective career is quite peculiar and fail to see cross-cuttingly any other similar profession that could jointly work with. Last but not least is the education and training programs provided in these professions lack harmony, which could have helped for better relations amongst the professionals. One thing which is true is there is a common ground and area for partnership. Again, historically these institutions, these three educational institutions, the three educational, cultural, and heritage institutions were one and the same. They have parallel mission. They all have a common mission of supporting education and learning. They all are repositories of or custodians of cultural heritage for the future generation. Similarly, they have similar functions. Although they use different terms, all of them have different functions. They have the following functions. They identifying, collecting, classifying, organizing or accessing and serving, researching, exhibiting, restoring, etc. They have also common clients. These are learners of all age. Against this background, there is an enabling environment where these institutions can have a great deal of partnership among themselves. How can we build a viable partnership? In considering an international spectrum, international organizations like the International Council on Archives, the International Federation of Library Association, and the International Committee for Museums should play an important role, exemplary role in this regard. Their cooperation, partnership, and networking at international level will foster the national institutions to follow suit. At national level, one could also think of a national heritage board to facilitate the effort of cooperation and partnership. In developing a program for partnership, it's also possible to think of a variety of ways, among others, producing projects emphasizing cooperation, support interdisciplinary research and publication, providing training and initiating development programs, developing programs on how to share resources, knowledge, experience, and launching a joint or common web pages. Okay, if we think of the partnership to be viable, what is the return on investment of partnership? In my view, there are a lot of return on investment of partnerships. To mention some, at a very elementary level, though not sophisticated, there can be avoidance of duplication of effort. There is a maximization of service capacity, that's synergy in efficient and quality services, evading unnecessary competition or senseless competition among themselves, enabling environment and less costly sharing of reduction. The other most important thing is, a reduction in public expenditure, as they all depend on public fund, which is always in shortage, particularly in the cultural field. The cooperation results in cost effectiveness and benefit of systemic and structural setup, especially with the dynamic field of information technology. And high-level cooperation, and ultimately winning a public trust as well as confidence. In order to validate the need for partnership, the importance of partnership, there was a survey conducted on our part at the national level, and the empirical evidences empirical evidences show some very positive findings. Interviews were conducted and focus group discussions were held with different professionals and researchers in the field. The interviews were carried out in Addis Ababa University History Department and the Institute of Ethiopian Studies, the Ethiopian Library Information and Archives Professionals Association, and the Authority for Research and Conservation of Cultural Heritage and the National Museum. Similarly, a focus group discussion was conducted with selected professionals from the Ethiopian National Archives and Library Agency. The research result acknowledged that archives, libraries, and museums need to consider the following issues. First is the distinctive individual features of this institution, the form and nature of information resources they collect, and their provenance and collection methods, differences in organizational setting, collection arrangements, that's technicalities in connection with information accessing mechanism, various preservation and conservation activities to pass their holdings to the future generation, and the prerequisite to employ professionals who are trained according to the required standards. The other point or the issue that emanated from the finding was the need or the precondition for institutional partnership. In order to have institutional partnership, assessing the current conditions and the issues is quite important. Implementing capacity building programs at various levels. Engagement in an open professional discussion which is free from institutional bias and prejudice, and mainly focused on preserving and conserving the information resources. Preparing and issuance of policies, rules, regulations, guidelines, and standards that can create conducive ground for cooperation. As I mentioned earlier, the current global and national best practices show that focusing on increasing holdings or collections on the basis of new and expanded possibilities offered by modern information communications technology, reviewing policies in collaboration with each other and sharing experiences, empowering institutional capacity and jointly establishing conservation and preservation laboratory and enabling professionals to this end, widening the scope of services rendered to users by jointly preparing catalogs of the collections of their respective holdings. Engagement in organizing workshops concerning national treasures, conducting joint research initiatives and dissemination of findings to their stakeholders and the community at large through professional publications, and exhibiting their invaluable collections, as well as organizing sensitization programs in collaboration with the mass media, and design different cooperative projects and see to their efficient and effective implementation so as to upscale their capacity to maximum level. What are the advantages of institutional partnership? From the research, the findings show that sharing resources and providing a wide range of information, playing a pivotal role in creating informed society, promoting the invaluable information heritage of respective countries and avoiding distorted images at large, and playing a pivotal role in creating informed society. The disadvantages of acting as a single separate entity was also addressed. This shows unnecessary duplication of effort and resources, lack of competence to manage and access information to the level of expected standards, accessing bits and pieces of information irrespective of the user's interest, hindering full-fledged and integrated development of the three professions, and pulling back of institutional contribution to nationwide development. That derails foundation to informed society. Summary and conclusions. From the research undertaken nationally, so I have confessed that it was not a very much detailed research, but it was somehow an indicative initiative. The following conclusions can be reached. Even if our archives, libraries, and museums are institutions which embraced similar moves towards collecting and accessing cultural information heritage to the public and preserving it to the next generation, they have got distinctions in the mechanism they apply to collect, preserve, and access their holdings, the professionals and technical duties they perform, and the educational and training programs they set up. Once the prerequisite is fulfilled, cooperation is vital to effective implementation of institutional mission and objectives. With proper institutional cooperation, significant contribution to international or national professional development can be achieved. Functional cooperation cannot be viewed or mistaken with institutional merger, because a wide range of duties and responsibilities remain to be independently accomplished at organizational level. Finally, the issue of cooperation is in no doubt quite uploaded, yet the parallel thinking of merger in the pretext of cooperation or cost-effective organizational setup is presumed to remain debatable for a certain foreseeable future. Thank you very much.